Hi, good evening. My name is Adam Molina. Here's a little background about myself. I'm 33 years old and self-employed, and I live in South Texas. I live in the San Antonio area, but actually in a lake community just outside. What are some of the areas that I have traveled? I have traveled all over the world in the Navy, but outside of the Navy did very few travels. So I could say that most of my travels have consisted primarily of professional reasons, but in that pursuit there has been a lot of fun. In other words, going to other countries, our goal was to be in the ocean. So when we would pull into the port, our mission was put on hold and we were able to have fun. So I was able to enjoy each culture, whether it be in South America, Australia, or Asia. I did not get a chance to go to Europe, so that would be excluding Europe. But otherwise, I have been to those different places and have spent at least a minimum of 5 days at each place, sometimes as much as 3 to 5 months at different locations throughout the world. Where have I worked? Well, obviously the Navy was a place that I worked, and that took me all over the world. And after the Navy, I got a job at Samsung in Austin area, so moved to South Texas after the Navy. But my Navy career took me with the home base in California. So I moved from California to Texas and started working at Samsung, where I landed a job working on my own from home, and I was able to start a new career selling insurance. So that has been my home for about the last 10 years, and that is where I'm now working. So I've chosen to live in South Texas and I work at home, so the San Antonio area is pretty much my stomping grounds. And what sets San Antonio apart from other places is the general interactions between human beings in this area. In other words, it does not matter where a person is from. For the most part, there is still racial prejudice, as in all parts of the world. But if the racial prejudice is not available or present at that moment, then one can generally feel very accepted and welcomed by anyone, whether at the grocery store or into a formal setting. And that again sets me into my second part of what sets San Antonio apart. That is very informal in nature. It seems like you can go to an opera wearing blue jeans in this part of the country, and it would not be looked down upon. In the church atmosphere as well, you can tell that there's a very relaxed sense of camaraderie, and that shows in the clothing. As I adapt to each culture in my travels, is it easy to go back? Well, it is easy to go back. It's almost like riding a bike. You move from place to place in the military, and after that it just becomes a part of nature to be able to get around from place to place. In other words, using sign languages to communicate really shows somebody that you're making an active effort to communicate with that person, and yet you do not know how to speak the language. So it brings two people together in the fact that they know that they need one another at that very moment. So moving around, it's easy to adapt into a culture as long as you do some research into foreign countries and different parts of the United States. You even might need a little bit of research. But otherwise, it is not hard at all to go back from one culture to another. When I lived in California, it was definitely a standoffish culture where there was more to show for. I am of Hispanic background, and it seems like there's sections or sectors of classes even within Hispanic culture there, due to the close proximity of the border and migrant workers in that area. So that definitely does not play as much of a factor in South Texas, where most of the people here come from a minority background and that here makes up the majority, maybe different from other parts of the country. So it's really easy to come back home to Texas and South Texas because it is very familiar to me, and as far as the racial background of others is very close to myself. But going anywhere, moving to a different part of the country seems like I would take the steps that I've used in the military, implement those into the new place, and move right in. How can I tell I've assimilated into a culture? Well, you just get an overwhelming overall sense of acceptance once you've been assimilated back into a culture. Oftentimes in public transit, you can really tell when you stand out just because of the feeling that you get in public transit when there's other people you don't know, you've never seen before. They don't know you. Yet if you feel that you're being paid attention to more than other times in your life, then it's probably because you've not fully assimilated into that culture, whether it be something you're wearing or even fragrances or smells. But that comes with the territory of learning where you are and naturally coming into those. In other words, if we take a certain amount of deodorant with us to a certain country, and that country does not have it, and we run out, so we have to buy the normal deodorant of that country, we've now physically assimilated to one of the cultures of that country as far as smells and aromas.